Thank you so much for being here. This is the card we're going to be talking about today. And in fact, I'm not going to make you wait until the end to reveal this thing for you. I want to reveal what's on this card right away after the intro here. And I'm going to share with you why this is so important, where this comes from, and what each of these different 7 things mean. So welcome in today. I know the title's a little bit like, well, what is this even about? Well, today we're talking about making money, but we don't make money unless we're serving others. And so more on that in just a minute. Thank you so much for coming in. My name is Pat Flynn, here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. And if you happen to be in the chat right now, live with us, say hello to your friends here. Thank you so much for joining me. You inspire me every single day to show up here. We're at day 160 of the income stream. If you happen to be watching the replay, use hashtag Team Replay in the comments. Thanks so much and welcome to the income stream.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
All right, y'all, let's dive into this. It is day 160 here on the income stream. Show up every single day, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, except on Wednesdays, which is just a half hour earlier. And today I wanted to talk about a topic that would directly affect you because it has been the absolute number one biggest thing that I've learned in such a long time. And I have to give credit to where credit is due. So before I reveal what's on this card, I do have to reveal where this comes from. This comes from a book called The Coaching Habit, which you can see right there. This was by far one of the most life-changing books that I've ever come across. And I read this in 2018. And when I read this book, it absolutely changed everything for me. It allowed me to understand how to actually coach somebody. For me, not having any real quote unquote coaching experience, if you want to call it that, I took this knowledge. I built an accelerator program in my business, a mastermind group, a coaching program, one that allowed me to earn within the first year over $100,000 in earnings. And it was this book and the 7 things within this book, the 7 questions that you should be asking the people that you are serving, whether it's online or in person or within a group or even kids. These are the kinds of things, if you have a team and you're looking to manage them, this book right here is absolutely game-changing, right? And Luke, I already see some of the language there. You know what I'm talking about, right? Do you agree? This is massively important. So The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay-Stanier, absolutely recommend it. He has another book called The Advice Trap, which just came out recently, and I have that as well. He actually sent me an early copy back before it launched, and he was, in fact, fun fact, he was supposed to be a keynote speaker at FlynnCon this year, which is kind of sad because obviously FlynnCon and major events like this are not happening, but Michael had agreed, and unfortunately we had to delay that, obviously. Whether or not his 2021 schedule will work out or not, I'm not exactly sure, but he's that important to the life of me and the business and Team SPI that I wanted to talk about him fully today. And in fact, the 7 things within this card. So this card is written with the 7 questions that we should progress through when we are coaching somebody, meaning when we are trying to help someone. And the reason his book, his latest one, is called The Advice Trap is because we all fall into that trap that when we're trying to help people, we just spew advice. I don't know if you've ever asked anybody for help, but have you ever asked anybody for help and then came out on the other end with just way more confusion, way more overwhelm? And although the person that you're likely speaking to, or even the coach that you hire or the mentor that you have is likely trying to be helpful to you, sometimes just advice after advice after advice is not the best thing. We love to use these kinds of tactics within our kids. And again, I'm just going to list these 7. I'm not going to go through all 7 sort of within the hour-long period here. I'm just going to give them to you up front so that in case you have to leave. And I would recommend writing all these things down so that you can see these. And I have them here, so I'm reminded every tingle slime, every single time. Simon, thank you so much, and welcome to Team Flynn Platinum, my friend. I appreciate you for that. Enjoy those emojis, and thanks for being a part of the community. But yes, seeking advice, you got to be careful because it can be even more overwhelming if the person that you're seeking advice from does not, in fact, have this nailed down. And so I'm very appreciative of this because we all fall into the advice trap, right? And we love to use these sort of strategies on our kids because we love to have the kids figure it out on their own. And that's kind of what these questions are about. It's interesting because it's like, oh, aren't you supposed to give advice as a coach? Yes, technically, and there are moments to do that. But if you just start out running like that, it's not going to work out very well. So these 7 questions are great. And what's the beauty of this is these questions sort of navigate around where you think the person should be going. And sort of like Inception, right? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inception. One of my all-time favorite movies has to do with time and Leonardo DiCaprio. So, gotta love him. And it's almost like implanting this idea in the person that you're coaching for them without you actually telling them what to do. They will figure it out on their own. It's much like, if you ever get your kids to make a smoothie, that's a great way to get them to eat greens. You actually help them make the smoothie, put some kale in, and then of course add your apple juice, citrus and whatnot, but put some spinach in there too, and they're going to be able to eat their greens even though they know it's there because they made it. And although we're having fun with them, little do they know, we're trying to get some greens and some vitamins in them as well. So here are the 7 questions. I literally have them written here, and usually it's posted right over here behind me. I have another Post-it note from another book, which I'll save for another day, of just things. Like whenever I have these really amazing life-changing books, I want to pull it out and just be reminded of it. Every time I sit at my desk, just be reminded of these things. I also use these questions in my show, Ask Pat, where you hear me, in fact, coach people live. And that's actually a mechanism for me to practice this whilst helping people, whilst also building an audience and gaining some podcast downloads at the same time and building my brand, increasing my exposure. And it's really interesting because ever since creating Ask Pat, a lot of people have since been listening to that and have asked me for coaching, which I do not offer necessarily one-on-one coaching. I have group coaching, and that's where our $100,000 plus program has come into play. So here are 7 questions. Sue says, this is why I love being a coach. Exactly. Number 1, what's on your mind? So what's on your mind? Actually, I want to explain all these really badly, but I'm going to list them all for you first. Number 1, what's on your mind? Mind you, these are going to be like, really? Like, this is a secret? Like, this is all I need to know to coach? Yeah, kind of. I mean, you actually have to care about the person that you're coaching too, right? But when you coach, whether it's online or in person or whatever, I mean, this is what unlocks so much up here and also monetarily as well. So number 1, what's on your mind? Number 2, and what else? Number 3, what's the real challenge? Number 4, what are you looking to achieve? Like, what do you want? What are you looking to achieve? Number 5, how can I help you? You think that that's the first one, but that's actually not true. Number 6, if you're saying yes, what are you saying no to? And number 7, what was the most useful for you out of the conversation we just had? So this is sort of the order of operations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this here for you. And if you wanted to take a screenshot of that, you could totally do that. But number 1, what's on your mind? Number 2, and what else? Number 3, what's the real challenge? Number 4, what are you looking to achieve? What do you want? I got you, Susan. I got you. No worries. Number 5, how can I help? Number 6, if you're saying yes, what are you saying no to? Number 7, what was the most useful for you? I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Take a screenshot. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. Okay, and Samson just posted those questions up there for you too. So thank you for that, Samson. I'll give him some love right there. He's rocking the beard just like me. I like it. Okay, so these are in a very specific order. So I'm going to pull from my experience coaching a few hundred people live on Ask Pat, and all the different sessions that I've had just privately with people, and come up with some ways that we can understand these questions a little bit better. Because obviously, if you just ask these questions, I mean, I haven't tested this yet, but literally just asking these questions and not responding with anything else, I'm curious to know if this would actually work. And that might be a fun experiment. But I wouldn't want to like waste an opportunity to actually help somebody just for my own purpose. And I don't know, it might be interesting to see if I can just literally ask these questions. But let's start from the top here. So number one, what's on your mind? What's on your mind? And I love this because it's more of a casual approach. Imagine you are sitting in an office and then one of your managers come in and they're feeling a little bit disheveled, or they're a little bit upset, or they're asking for some help. If you just immediately go into what's wrong, right? It's like, well, then you kind of start with the negative. And when you start with, well, what's on your mind? You really allow for this person to have permission to just talk, just kind of express what's on their mind. It could literally be about anything. And what I've noticed about this is interesting because sometimes I get answers that are immediately different than what I initially expect, right? When you share what's on your mind, a person will kind of explore literally what's on their mind versus just looking at the problem in general and just staying on the surface. A lot of these questions will also help you dig deeper into where the root of the problem is, which is really cool. Glad you guys are going well this week. Thanks so much for being here, and I appreciate your time. How many people? We got over 100 people in the room right now, which is pretty cool. And episode 160, y'all. Episode 160. So what's on your mind? You'll hear me on Ask Pat, my show where I coach people, literally start with this question. And it's really cool because I love to gauge where a person is actually wanting to focus, right? But the second question is actually an interesting one because I felt a lot of anxiety asking this question. And again, let me pop this up here for you, for those of you who came in a little bit late. So these are the 7 questions that we need to ask. And again, this comes from this book, The Coaching Habit. The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stainer. I mean, look at this tagline: say less, ask more. It almost reminds me of that phrase in Hamilton: say less, ask more. Even though it's talk less, smile more, right? Anyway, here are those 7 questions. The second question there, and what else? I used to be very scared about asking that question because I was like, well, didn't the person just tell me like what's going on? Like, why do I need to pry and like, use a crowbar to get a little bit deeper? And it's just really interesting because that's normally where you can start to unpack the truth about the matter. You're always going to get presented with ideas or decision-making or issues or problems with those who you're coaching, and they're going to tell you what's immediately on their mind. But when you ask a question like, well, and what else? You'll actually see the person kind of do this with body language, right? They'll kind of like, well, actually, you'll see their shoulders go down. It's like, okay, now their guard is down, and you're asking them to go a little bit deeper. You'll actually notice a physical change in their body when you ask them, and what else? Now, obviously, I don't notice this on a podcast when I'm doing it, or when I'm coaching virtually with just voice only, or over the phone. But when I'm on Skype, or when I'm when I'm in person with somebody, I'll actually notice a physical sort of lowering of the shoulders and kind of a hunting for more information. And the more information you can get, the more information you have to work with. Also, a lot of times, just even these 2 questions alone will allow people to kind of discover on their own. Actually, if you're a coach, let me know if you've ever done this before. You literally get in a coaching session. You ask like 1 or 2 of these initial questions. Hey, what's on your mind? And what else? And then you sit back and listen. And then literally that person will already solve their own problem. And then they'll say something like, you know what? Thank you so much for all the advice, and I appreciate the time. And you're like, I literally just did nothing but be here to listen and allow you to talk it out. And that's funny because that's what happens. I don't know if you're a coach, let me know if that's ever happened to you too. But that's the best. I mean, that's the best scenario, right? It's like, you know what? Yeah. Thank you for paying for me to just be here to listen to you. And it's really fun. Tim says, yep, exactly. And again, it's just because you as a coach, your job is not to give advice right away. In fact, that's the last thing you want to do. Your job is to listen, and your job is to be there and to be a sounding board, and also to kind of navigate the situation for this person, right? When I hired Coach Azul, who was my book coach, Azul, man, from AuthorsWhoLead.com. Him and his partner Steve, amazing. If you are looking to write a book, they have all the information you need. They'll take you and hold your hand as far as you want to go with it. And when I was writing my book, Will It Fly, I had some issues. I was having a lot of trouble. So I hired a coach. And I got really frustrated at first because every time I was like, just tell me what to do, Azul. He'd be like, well, what do you think you should do? And but I'm so thankful because what I was doing was just trying to avoid thinking about the really hard problems within that task, right? And he was able to just literally through asking questions, again, in and around books and authorship, help me discover where I needed to go. And those ideas became that much more valuable because they came from within me. He just kind of guided me there, right? He just kind of guided me there. But that was, I was very afraid to start asking questions like, okay, well, what else? I mean, don't say it like that. Just go, okay, well, and what else? You'll hear people go a little bit deeper and pay attention to the words they're saying. Listen intently. Be genuinely curious. These are all strategies to do when you're coaching people, right? This is really fun to talk about too, because oftentimes we go, okay, well, what's the fastest, quickest way to make money, right? And should we build a website? Should we create a physical product? Should we create an online course? Those are all the wrong answers. I usually advise find one person that you can help and maybe even coach. That way you can just literally be there for them and help them through a process. And that's valuable. And you don't need a website for that. You could probably find one person right now who could tap into your expertise a little bit, and you can be there as a sounding board to listen to. Great. Learn, grow, give. Welcome in. Good evening, everyone. So you must not be in the US. I'm glad there's a worldwide audience here today. Appreciate you. Okay, so number 3. Question number 3 here. I'm going to pop this up every once in a while for you too. So we started with what's on your mind, which is just like the initial icebreaker question, right? What's on your mind? Number 2, and what else? And again, sometimes just those 2 things alone, people will talk themselves into the solution without you even having to do anything. It's really amazing, right? Number 3, what's the real challenge here? And this is a great question to ask too. Because, see, I feel like I prefer to know the structures first, the process of what to do, then I can be creative. I agree with that, Romer. So hopefully this is creating a little bit of structure around how you're going to coach, and then you can get creative with how you come up with these solutions too. But what's the real challenge? This is where you are basically telling this person what is the actual problem here, right? You're going to hear people talk about all these different things, different angles. They're going to mention certain people that may be bothering them or whatever. And then you can go, okay, well, what's the real challenge here, right? And when you ask the person who you're coaching to come up with the words that they need actual help with, at this point in the conversation, it works really well. If you were to ask, well, hey, what's the challenge here up front? You're not going to have unpacked all these things. And again, the more information you can get, the better, right? The more information you can get, the better. Daryl, dropping knowledge bombs, says, Pat, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Rap and comment in the house. Yo, it's been a long time, my friend. Been a long time. Says, love you guys. Love you too, Rap and Combat. Bruh. Appreciate you. Hope all is well. So we're on question number 3 of 7 here of the questions that are mentioned here in the coaching habit. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever. That's what this is about. This is about leadership and listening intently and being curious. Leadership is not just barking from the top of a mountain, telling people what to do. That is how many of us who are adults now, how we were raised, right? And it's like those weren't cool feelings. And what we're trying to do as parents is trying to coach our kids using these very similar strategies so that we can have conversations, so that we can be better listeners, so that we can understand more and get more information. Also, we know that, and this has been proven to be true already with our kids, and it's going to be the case if you have clients as well, if you are a great listener and you allow for a platform or an asset or become a place where people can kind of come to ask for help because they know they're going to get that great listener. They know they're going to get that advice. Well, guess what? They're going to keep coming back. And that's exactly what we want to happen with the kids, yo. We want the kids to, even when they're teenagers going through crazy problems and hormones or whatever, right? I'm not there yet. My son's turning 11 in December and my daughter's turning 8 in just a couple weeks here. They're going to get there, and they're going to have some problems, and they're going to go through life, and hopefully they'll be comfortable enough to come to us, because when they come to us, we ask questions. We don't tell them what to do right away, which can often be just counterintuitive or counterproductive. Thanks for the thumbs up, by the way. Already halfway to 100. That's kind of the goal every day. Let's get to 100 thumbs up. So I appreciate you for all of the support there. So what's the real challenge? Let's get to the heart of what's going on here. And I remember some specific conversations I had with Azul, who is my book coach. Again, you can find him at authorswholead.com. There were a lot of times where he asked me that, I don't know if he read this book or not, but he definitely followed this process. And he just is a teacher and an educator, was a principal at a school in Texas for a while, and worked out of High Tech High here in San Diego for a bit. I mean, he just knows how to work with people and students. So I guess maybe he just pulled from his own experience. But I remember him asking me questions like, when I was coming to him with, hey, what software should I be using to write with? Like, there's so many options out there. There's, what are some of them? Scrivener is one of them. Should I write with this other one, which like it minimizes the screen and just has the text only on there? Like, what should I be using? He's like, okay, well, what's the real challenge here? And the real challenge was, we determined through that conversation, it wasn't actually the software that was the problem. It was my approach to the different kinds of software and not really feeling comfortable in any of them. And what it really came down to is I was using these softwares as an excuse. Like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to write yet because I haven't found the right software. The real challenge was just putting words on paper. How do we start to put words on paper? What's the easiest way to do that? And through that, and through these conversations that we were having, we eventually determined that the easiest way to do it was the way that I was doing it all along before. And that was writing blog posts. How did I write blog posts? Through Google Docs. And using Google Docs, I just started writing my book, breaking it down into different chapters. And without him having to tell me, hey, go into Google Docs, write down each of these things into different chapters for different documents, and then you can blog from there, like you're blogging, but you're writing a book. I discovered that on my own. But that's kind of where he was guiding me. I don't know if he necessarily knew that's where we were going to end up, but it didn't matter if he knew or not. He was through questions like, what's the real challenge here? And me discovering on my own that the challenge was just I was having a hard time putting words to paper, or words to screen, if you will. Then, yeah, it's like I was able to solve the problem on my own, but through the guidance, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to be the guide, right? Like, imagine Luke Skywalker. If Yoda just literally told him everything to do, it wouldn't have been as meaningful, right? And it would have been a boring series. I'm just imagining like rewriting this in a way where he's not really a guide. He's just the advice monster, right? Yoga, the advice monster. Or Yoda. Did I say yoga? Yoda. I think I'm channeling Francis here. Yoda, the advice monster. No, he would say things that would get Luke to think and discover things on his own, right? All right, so let's move on to question number 4. So after asking number 3, what's the real challenge here? Number 4, we can get into, well, what are you looking to achieve here? What do you want? And I love this question in particular, especially that last part of this question right here. What do you want? The sort of second part to question number 4 here. See, Scully, thanks for popping in. Appreciate you. Oh, Luke here, by the way. There is a Luke here. Who is your Yoda, Luke, by the way, in your life? I'm curious. What are you looking to achieve, and what do you want, right? And I love this question because it's like, there could be a dilemma or a quarrel, or one of your team members comes to you with a problem with maybe another team member, which I've had happen before in my business. It happens. And then when you ask questions like, okay, well, hey, what do you want? Especially coming from a leadership position, it's like, oh my gosh, thank you for like asking me what I want, because nobody's asked me what I want yet, right? Spanish and Go says, it's such a small world. I wouldn't have recognized Azul if I hadn't heard him on your podcast. That's crazy. It is a small world for sure. It's an absolutely small world for sure. That's the beauty of it, right? Creating these opportunities for little small moments like this to happen is really one of the beauties of the world, for sure. Number 4, what are you looking to achieve? What do you want? Again, I love this question because it makes a person go, oh my gosh, thank you for like asking me what I ultimately want out of this. And that's great information for you too, because then what this person ultimately wants might be completely different than what you thought or what this person really came to you with. And it might just be a person who might say something like, ultimately, I just want to be recognized for the work that I do. And then you can go, okay, how might we be able to recognize you, or what kind of recognition would you appreciate, right? So see how I even took it to another level, another question beyond that. It's totally okay to have follow-up questions. If you are curious or just don't know enough about the situation to be able to then eventually give advice if advice is needed. Advice is like the last thing you want to give. Still important to give if the person needs it and if you have this information. It's not like you want to be like, hey, I know, like if a person's like, hey, how do I copy and paste this Photoshop file into Keynote? Well, what are you looking to achieve here? What's the real challenge? Okay, there's some cases where you just literally need to tell people the answer, right? I think these are meant for much bigger situations, much bigger problems. I can just imagine that being very frustrating, right? Hey, so how do I copy and paste this image from Photoshop and put it into Keynote? Well, what are you looking to achieve here? What do you actually want? Like, I'm looking to put this Photoshop file into Keynote. Well, what's the real challenge? What? No. That's funny. Yo, Podcast Stage. Yo, if y'all have not checked out Podcast Stage, his channel is one of the best niched channels I've ever seen. I don't know why I don't use it as an example more, but thank you for being here. And yes, I do have a beard. Props to you and all of your helpful videos. You've in fact helped me make many, many major purchases in the world of podcasting and microphone and even video related things. So thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Do you go live? I'm curious. I think it would be fun to chat with you. You have this like really unique style of video where you like throw things around and you create these really awesome demos. I think it'd be fun to see you live at some point. I don't know if you do that. Okay, number 4. And for those of you who are coming in later, we're talking about this note card right here, which has 7 questions that are from this book, The Coaching Habit. Coaching and helping and leading other people is an incredible way to have success in your business and in your life. I use these principles with my children, and these are the 7 questions right here. I'm going to pop this back up in case you need to create a screenshot for yourself. But these are the 7 questions. So number 1, what's on your mind? We've discussed that already. You can go back and watch the replay if you need to. Number 2, and what else? Number 3, what's the real challenge? Number 4, what are you looking to achieve? What do you want? And again, that's the one we just finished on. And I absolutely love that question because it's like, oh my gosh, finally somebody's asking me what I want. And this question will solve most of your problems as a coach in terms of how are you going to get to the right answer for this person, right? Or how are you going to guide them into exactly where they need to go next? Because now you ultimately don't know what will make them happy and what's actually the problem here. And that's really, again, what this is all about, asking questions so you can get more information, so you can be a listener. And like I said, many times you'll get to question 2 and a person will have already answered their question for themselves, and then you can get paid for that, or you'll be recognized as a leader, or it'll be an amazing interview, right? Where it's just like that person discovered it on their own, and you just have been a place and a person to just kind of be a sounding board. And you're not just going to be a mute board who's not going to talk and discuss. You still want to have discussions here, and you still want to show up, and you don't just want to be like, okay, question number 1, what's on your mind? Okay. And what else? All right. Number 3, what's the real challenge? Like that? No, you want to be an actual human being. And the reason I have these up here is because, there's an empty spot right there above my SwitchPod box where these exist so that every time I go and ask Pat or every time I'm on a coaching call, they're right there for me too. Oscar and Otto, love the stream. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate you for that. 2 of you. Oscar and Otto. Great. So let's keep going here. Number 5. How can I help you? Remember, I saw this list of questions before I read this book, in fact, and I was like, really? This is like the secret? Like, this is the rave everybody has with this book, or these 7? I saw these 7 questions listed on a, I think it was a blog post somewhere, or a review, if that makes sense. And I was just like, really? Like, this seems like you're just kind of lengthening the time to actually help people, right? With all these questions. Like, number 5 seems to be the one that you should start with, right? Number 5, how can I help you? Right? But now that you've unpacked all these things and you've kind of taken this person down this path of going a little bit deeper by asking them exactly what they want, now is the time for you to go, okay, well, now that I'm here, how can I help you? And again, this person is telling you what to do for them. This is the beauty of this process in coaching. It's like, well, hey, what can I do for you? It's like, oh, well, I just need to, it's funny. Like, I would say 10 to 15% of the time, people just go, I actually don't need anything right now. I just wanted to tell this to you. That's a great leader. Again, becoming somebody who is somebody comfortable enough to have a person sort of listen to you and to be a sounding board to you. But many times this person will go, you know what? I need a better system in our business to do this. Okay. What do you think that system might look like? And again, I usually take it to a place, especially if it's my own team, and this is what I recommend doing as well. If you feel that this team member has the capability to come up with a solution on their own, if there is no solution yet, we'll get to sort of like what the solutions might be in just a moment. Let them figure it out, right? This is what I like to call, and this is huge. This is huge, y'all. This is, I guess, story time. Should we do some story time? Let's do some story time. I don't know if this is necessarily the right music for this particular story, and I don't know the exact date or the exact people in the story, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway, because there's a big lesson here. When it comes to managing teams and people and empowering your team to follow the steps and the processes that you're creating in your business, your standard operating procedures, if you will, I want to take you back to wartime. I think World War II, maybe even World War I. There was a commander who was sharing with his generals the task at hand, the jobs that they were supposed to do. And it was a packet, right? A confidential packet of, hey, here's the battle plan. Step 1, we're gonna go here. Step 2, we're gonna infiltrate here. Step 3, we're gonna do this. And step 4, we're gonna do that. And then win, right? Win. And the generals came back and they're like, hey, this didn't work out. We got to step 2, we had to make it just didn't work out. We all lost, right? I'm not telling this in the way that it was told to me. I'm just kind of basically paraphrasing for you. But because the generals were following those specific orders and they were listening to the commander and they had this confidential mission that they were supposed to do, it was like, okay, well, we're going to follow this thing to a T. We're going to follow this plan. And as a result, because things are crazy, because things sometimes have to be adjusted, it didn't work out. So the commander instead did this differently the next time. He said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to call the commander's intent. Right? The commander's intent. And the commander's intent is essentially just allowing the generals to understand what the whole purpose of this mission is, and allowing the generals and giving them the power to figure it out on their own. Right? So the commander's intent. And we use this in our business all the time. So hey, here is the goal. Here is the mission. We want to launch a membership platform called SPI Pro, which is going to be a safe and inclusive place for people who have started their business, who are motivated, and who want to connect with people, and who want to network with each other, to come in and feel welcomed, to feel like they can get advice, and to feel like they're a part of a community. So, hey team, you're responsible for the solutions and for the technological part of that. I just need it to work, right? That's what we want. I'm not going to give you any more steps. You figure it out. And you work with this person who's going to figure out, okay, what are the categories and how is the community going to connect with each other in there? Okay, you figure that out, right? So now you're a leader and you're actually empowering your team to do that. This is the commander's intent. And that way, the generals or your team or your managers who go into the battlefield, they get empowered to go, okay, I'm going to come up with a solution. Since I'm the one here, I can better have the ability to actually navigate this scene, right? So that's the commander's intent. And I'm apologizing that I didn't tell that story. And maybe like if I had some like maybe fun wartime music. What is wartime music anyway? Like snare drums. There was a war. I don't know. Sorry. But yeah, the commander's intent, right? The commander's intent. So if you have a team and you trust this team member, if it's a contractor, obviously, who's like, hired to do a specific task, you don't want to be like, you know what? I'm not going to tell you exactly what I want my app to look like. I want you to make it on your own. That's not going to work, right? This is for your team or anybody who works closely with you and you're working together for a specific outcome. Here's the commander's intent. General, you take it. I trust you. This is done in software development as well. Sometimes certain people interfere with the process to feel important, which interferes with the production process. Wagner's The Ultimate War Music. I'm not going to put them on. I was like, okay, maybe I can get doctor monetization here. So that we talked about number 5, which is how can I help you? Let's keep going here. Number 6, if you're saying yes, what are you saying no to? So by this time, this is where maybe some advice might come into play, right? However, this is a trick. It's not one of these questions, but this is another thing I like to do when I'm having conversations with people. And I kind of know what I like the advice I want to give. I kind of want to give that person that advice. You have that urge to go, okay, I know exactly what you need to do. I've been in this situation before. Here's what you need to do. Before you get there, and again, you've unpacked all this information. You know more about the situation, so you can better guide them. It's just so much better to guide and give advice at this point versus in the beginning, which is often what we do. But before I give this advice, and again, this is in the book, not a question here, but this is an approach to when you are giving advice, this is how you do it. You do this. All right, so I have some ideas that might be able to help you, but I want to hear your ideas first, and then I'll share mine with you. So you open up the floor for this person to actually give themselves their own advice. And the cool thing about this is what'll happen is, I would say, 65 to 70% of the time, this person will come up with the same solution that you had, right? And it would be very big-headed and cocky of us to go, that was my idea. That's exactly like, hey, I was supposed to give it to you first. Like, that's interestingly how a lot of people think. But when a person, you have this idea of what they want, what they should be doing, okay, you've gotten this information, you want to guide them into that certain scenario. If you allow them to come up with that idea on their own first, you can go, hey, now it's validated. That's exactly what I was thinking too. So go and do that. Well done. Way to come up with that on your own. A person coming up with an idea on their own is going to be a lot more possible for them to actually take action and do it. So I absolutely love the idea of just going, hey, I have some ideas. And I think EJ says, EJ the Travel Diva, who we did a great YouTube channel review for this past week, and definitely subscribe to her. Lisa, sorry, late today. Thank you. This question is so good. Need constantly reminding myself of this. What I'm turning down by saying yes to something. Yeah, so I'm going to dive into that a little bit more. Thank you, Podcast Stage. And again, it's just so cool to see you here. I feel like you're like a celebrity here. We're all celebrities in our own right? But thank you again for taking the time. So you've heard me say this on the podcast before, which is, I have some ideas, but I want to hear from you first. What do you think the right solution is here? Or where do you think you should go from here? And then if the person just mentions it, I go, yep, that's the one. And there's no more discussion needed, right? This person figured out the thing on their own. But if they are going to take this advice that they are giving themselves, or maybe you kind of guide them into that situation too, then you go, okay, here's a way that we can secure this. And this is where this question number 6 is really important. And this is just so true in general. When it comes to productivity, we have to understand this. And that is this. What you say yes to means you're saying no to something else, right? And this could be used in a positive way or in a negative reinforcing way. So by asking this question to a person you're coaching, so hey, you now know that you're going to do this, and this is the way to approach it. So if you're saying yes to doing this, what are you saying no to? It might be a limiting belief that they might be saying no to, or it might be an actual task that they might be saying no to. But this is so important, right? We only have this so much energy and focus to give, and the more we keep saying yes to things, just in general, the more that we're going to keep saying no to things that we've previously said yes to or prior engagements. And unfortunately, many times this affects our family, this affects our relationships, this affects our health, our sleep, our mental health. And so we have to realize that when we say yes to something, what are we saying actually no to, or what might fall by the wayside, right? So when we ask this as a coach, it helps a person go, okay, let me frame this in my mind so that, and this is a gift that you as a coach or a leader are giving your team or the person that you're coaching or your client or your kid, right? Hey, if you're going to do this from now on, what are we not going to do from now on, right? This is a gift because this is now where we're getting tangible. And part of coaching is not just adding on more tasks. Part of coaching is removing tasks that don't matter too, right? So this is really key. I've been exercising lots of JOOO per you, Pat Flynn. For those of you who don't know what JOOO, which I still need a better name for, because I don't, there's FOMO, fear of missing out, and there's JOMO, joy of missing out, which I don't like because it's like, I can't pretend to be happy that my friends are at a party and I'm not there. It's like, yay, I'm here and they're all there. I'm going to be joyful. That I feel like that's kind of like lying to yourself. I like joy of opting out. It's like, hey, they're over there and I'm here, but that's purposeful. I'm making this choice. I'm opting out of that so that I can opt into this thing that I said yes to. So I need a better, because I like JOMO and FOMO sound nice, but Jew does not sound nice. Unless you're doing the Superman, right? Jew, dun, dun, dun. Sorry, getting a little weird there. Huh. Jopo? Jopo? Jopo is like joy of popping out? I don't know. Cool. I was going to say JO to the third, or I don't know. Okay, so if you're saying yes to, what are you saying no to? You literally say that to the person that you're coaching, right? Hey, so now that we know what you want to do, you came up with the solution on your own, that's great. So if you're going to do that, what are we not going to do? What are we going to say no to from this point forward so we can stay in this realm here and not go back to where we were, right? And by the way, Scooby, I have a surprise for you, Scooby Life. And also, I don't know if, remember the Geezer Skater guys that we reviewed a number of weeks back? I have some fun things to share. Okay, so let's finish up and then I'll get into that, and then we'll get into some Q&A at the end here, since it looks like we'll have maybe 10 minutes of time, which would be great. Thank you again for joining me today. I appreciate you. And we're discussing, again, the 7 questions that Michael lines out here in this book, The Coaching Habit. Absolutely a game-changing book for me and my business. It's helped unlock hundreds of thousands of dollars in a coaching program that I came out with in 2018 called the SPI Accelerator Group. It's helped unlock a lot of revenue in my podcast, Ask Pat. And it's a reason why people listen to Ask Pat, because I literally go through these questions every time I have a conversation with people on that show, right? So number 7 here, and here's a list of questions one more time. This will be the last time I share it here. So take the screenshot now if you are capable of doing that. Number 7, what was the most useful for you? What was the most useful for you? This tape was not useful. Okay, I guess it's because I keep sticking it, and it's been on the wall for a few years. So anyway, what was the most useful for you? You'll hear me ask this at the end of Ask Pat as well, and I do this with my coaching clients too. It's just really fun to ask, because then you're able to verify that they are going in the right direction. It also feels good. Part of coaching is feeling good and getting rewarded for the work that you do. An immediate way to do that is to just verify through this question, hey, so what was the most useful thing for you here? And this also can help guide you in how you might coach, number 1, this particular person in the future, because you might find out what of everything you discussed was the most useful for this person. And number 2, how you might be able to take the same direction with somebody else if you happen to go through a similar scenario. And every time you coach somebody in real life like this, again, whether it's virtual or in person, it's still real life, it becomes another record of you and how you've helped somebody. And when you verify that help with just this question at the very end, it's almost like a summary of the things that have been happening. I love doing this on Ask Pat too, because it reminds the listeners through the voice of who it is that I'm coaching what were the most useful parts, and I love that. But it becomes a record for you in your mind that you can then pull out the next time you coach somebody through a very similar scenario too. What's been the most useful for you as you get advice from a coach? Is that a question for me, Tim? What's been the most useful for you? Let's see. So those are the 7 questions. Joso, joy of sitting out. Ooh. But again, I think, opting out is a purposeful choice, where sitting out is like, I'm sitting out because I'm injured. I'm sitting out because I'm on the bench, right? I don't know. Yes, for you. What's been the most useful for you as you get advice for a coach? I think the most useful thing that I've experienced when I have been the student is I have a coach, his name is James Schramko. Shalene Johnson's a big mentor of mine as well. Michael Hyatt's another mentor. I mean, they have each asked me about my vision. And of course, Michael Hyatt has a book called The Vision Driven Leader. So that's like his realm. But all of them have asked me questions about, hey, like, where do you want to go? And James does a great job of this because I'm often so in the weeds of my business. And I love having a coach and a mentor like that. And it allows me to see what's on the outside of the bottle, because you can't see when you're inside the bottle. So having these outside perspectives and having James continually guide me, especially because he's the one that I meet with the most every single week, in fact, guide me on, hey, where are we headed here? How are things looking? And most of all, like, where is your energy today is a great question, because it allows me to kind of like slow down and go, well, where is my energy today? And where am I going to put it? And what am I working toward? Because my brain just literally, I have problems, yo. I have squirrel syndrome to the max. So I need these outside forces to contain this brain of mine and to keep me from moving into directions that maybe I just get super excited about, but maybe aren't where I want to go, or to help me stay focused on where I do want to go. Fantastic. Francis, welcome in. Thank you. Okay, so I want to share a couple things with you really quick, and then we'll get to some questions. Joy of intentionally opting out. Joy. Joy. Does it have to be joy? Maybe it's a mantra. Like, thanks but no thanks. Or the not for me approach. We're going to nail this, because I feel like this is going to be my next book related to these really high-level productivity strategies, like the joy of opting out, just-in-time learning, and the 20% itch rule. Those 3 things have been absolutely huge for just staying sane, staying on top of things. What do y'all think about that as a book idea? Like the Power 3, that wouldn't be the title. Maybe it's the 20% itch rule and other productivity hacks or something like that. I don't know. But I think that would be cool. So Scooby sent over this amazing care package. One of those things within that care package was this awesome t-shirt. Thank you, Scooby. Are you here? I think you're here. I saw you pop in just a second ago. Scooby, I was going to say joy of passing. The joy of passing out instead of opting out. But joy of passing. Yeah, that's kind of like, hey, they passed. That's not as cool. Jorts. Joy of, I don't know. I just like the idea of a mantra to be named Jorts. I feel like that's like jean shorts, though, right? Like jean shorts, jorts. Although now I'm imagining the cover for that book, Pat Flynn in jorts. Maybe not. But hey, thank you so much for the care package, Scooby Life. We are already using the dog bowl that you sent us. Thank you so much, everybody. Check out Scooby Life and her channel. She reached out to Elton's like, how did you send it? She reached out to me, pat@patflynn.com, got an address, and I very, very much appreciate that. And then this one, remember we reviewed the guys over at Geezer Skate Company, and they were these like 40-year-old dudes on skateboards and just filming a good time at the skate park, and their YouTube channel is kind of exploding right now, which is pretty cool. So really, really digging the swag. Wasn't able to wear it today, unfortunately. I'm wearing this shirt, People Over Profit and Product. People Over Product, because I have a workshop coming up in about an hour and 10 minutes about how we built SPI Pro, which should be really fun. You're very welcome. Hope Gizmo's happy. He's very happy. Thank you so much. Daisy Dukes. Yes. Samson. Wow. No, not going to go there. Not going to go there. Save Like a Bear. Challenge for you. If you do a book on productivity, consider it if it would be useful for neurodivergent people too. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'll have to unpack that a little bit more to understand more about that for sure. Cooking with a Little Spice. I made it to 10,000 subscribers today. Wow. Incredible. Fantastic. Hope that today was helpful for you. And it was really fun to go deep into sort of the process that I now coach. And again, this comes from, and I highly recommend this book, The Coaching Habit from Michael Bungay Stanier. If you want to kickstart how you can generate income online, focus on how you can help others. And these kinds of ways to lead, not just a team, because you might not be at team yet, but you might be a solopreneur trying to help lead your clients, to help lead a single person through a process that you know that you have an expertise on or have experience with, and to guide them into a certain situation. Again, we don't want to fall into the advice trap. We are advice monsters as human beings, and it's the last thing oftentimes that people want to hear right away. But when you ask these questions, and again, I'll pop this up right away here just for those of you who maybe came in late. What's on your mind? And what else? What's the real challenge? What are you looking to achieve? / what do you want? Number 5, how can I help you? Number 6, if you're saying yes, what are you saying no to? And what was the most useful for you? Consult the Blind Guy says, every day is helpful information with you, Pat. Thank you. Thank you. Well, every day is inspiring for me because I wouldn't wake up this early in the morning if it wasn't for you. Sometimes, as I talked about yesterday, we talked about motivation. Sometimes I literally don't want to be here and do this because I'm just tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, 160 days. But honestly, you keep me going. And as soon as I hit broadcast and I see your lovely avatars here, all those feelings of not wanting to do this go away. And I think this is just part of the struggle of entrepreneurship, of trying to stay consistent, again, especially daily. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend daily anything when it comes to content production, because it has been a chore for sure. And somehow we've had 160 unique days here. We're going to have 161 tomorrow, and I'm excited. Tomorrow, however, Wednesday, we start a half hour earlier. And every time we have some people who come in late at the hour mark at 8 a.m. Pacific, and they're like, oh no, I forgot Wednesday. It's okay. The replay's there on YouTube. And I start early because I have a mastermind call at 8:30, but it's all good. But I'm very, very thankful for you. And I'm so, so thankful. I'm going through email marketing magic now. Are you still adding new email sequences to ABC Bank? I'm looking for good nurture sequence. Yes, Luke. I have a few that are very, very close to being published. And we'll probably have 5 or 6 more within the next month that will pop in there. And it will be more automated nurture sequences, 2 to 3 week campaigns with, an email every week or such for nurturing. There is in the autoresponder bank a number of emails that you can actually put into your autoresponder sequence right now. If it is indeed just nurturing, I would use the A in the ABC bank for that for sure. Romer says, in 2014, Mr. Money Mustache was the first person I was always talking about. This year, as Pat Flynn said this, Pat Flynn said that. My kids know these names. That's so cool. Thank you so much for that. That's an absolute honor. Mr. Money Mustache is awesome. Mrs. Money Mustache is just as awesome too. I've met them in person at FinCon and they're amazing. Woo! Awesome. Cup of coffee to remind everyone to get up and on earlier. Pat Flynn, God bless you and your family. Thank you for sharing your gifts and helping us. My pleasure. That's why I'm here. Thank you for another great morning with the quarantine. That's all of you. It's great. Yo, Geezer is in the house. I threw the t-shirt. Geezer Skate Co. Let's pop them up here. Maybe you could take, if you wanted to, take like a screenshot or something. I know which way's up. I promise. Let me put that back up there for you. Yo, Geezer Skate Co. I wish I was cool as you guys and could skate, but I'm not. Let's see. If only I had the gift of emoji creation. Yeah, I'm looking. We unlocked a couple new spots for emojis, so there'll be some new emojis coming out for all the new members. We had a couple new members today, so thank you so much. All income that comes in through the stream in the mornings here, both super chats and the membership fees that come in from those who have green names here in the chat, do get donated to different charities every single month. And this month we're donating to and supporting PolarisProject.org, which helps put a stop to human trafficking, which is happening right under our noses, even in our own cities. And it's not cool. So we have to support and have more resources for those who are on the front lines of that to put a stop to that, because that's just absolutely nuts. Pat, have you talked about whether to start your business website in English or not for non-native English speakers on any of your shows? Yes, if you look up Ask Pat, and if you go to askpat.com, there's in fact a search bar within the podcast player there. It's called the Fusebox.fm player. That's one of my companies. You'll be able to find episodes related to non-English or native language things. I think it depends, and I think that in many other countries, especially Spanish-speaking countries, there's huge opportunities to get in front of. They're essentially like 10 years behind where the established countries with relation to the internet are. So a lot of people who are in the Spanish-speaking communities now are now just starting to realize that there are blogs, there's podcasts available, and that is just absolutely growing at an exponential rate. And many other countries too, obviously. I mean, all around the world, podcasting especially is growing. But I think that with these technologies and with more access, and now with Starlink coming and another half of the internet coming later, it's going to be pretty crazy how many more people we can affect. And I think that staying within your native language, if that's what you're most comfortable doing, is a great place to start. I know some people, however, who do bilingual, and they have, even in their Instagram posts, they have the English version and the Spanish version or the other language right there in the same post, not two different channels, but just the one. I would say, however, for YouTube, and I think many of you would agree with this, you need to have a channel that's built specifically for that language if you're going to do YouTube, because that's something that people want their native language in, and it's less likely that you're going to attract people non-natively for that. Podcast Age, hey, thanks for contributing to good causes, Pat. You're a great human, and the world's better off with you in it. Thanks for all you do. Wow, a $20 super chat from Podcast Age. Definitely subscribe to Podcast Age. Got the best reviews on YouTube, especially for microphones and such. Very entertaining. He plays guitar. He's super cool, and he throws boxes. So definitely check out Podcast Age, and thank you so much for that super chat, my friend. I'm waiting for it to pop up here. It should pop up here in like 5 seconds if Stream Deck does its thing. Or not Stream Deck. What is it? Streamlabs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, I called it. There it is. Thank you so much for that. One more wow for you. You're amazing. Yay for Pat Flynn. He gives such good advice, right? So much information that I'm having a hard time keeping up. And that's where just-in-time learning should come in, Shonda. If you are in that stage where you know you have work to do, stop consuming my stuff. Get to work, and when you're ready for the next stage, maybe the podcast stage or whatever, you then go and look up information about that. I have thousands of pieces of content all across different channels. So when you're ready, I'm going to be there for you. But you need to focus on you. Don't feel like you're behind here, because this stuff isn't going away, right? So there you go. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Woo, day 160 was a blast. Thank you again. And thank you to Michael Bangay-Stanier. I highly recommend his book on Amazon if you haven't already checked it out. I think I have an affiliate link. I'm not sure. smartpassiveincome.com/thecoachinghabit. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about me. Worry about you. Get that coaching advice. Read this book and use those 7 questions. Even today, try using these 7 questions on your spouse or even your kid today. I guarantee you it's going to be like, wait, what? You're more interested in this? And you actually want me to share more information with you? I promise you. And in fact, when I learned how to podcast, I used a lot of the podcast interview strategies that I learned and picked up in a course once on my wife. And it was like the best conversations we had. And so I use those strategies now all the time. So anyway, check them out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for being here. Everybody in the house, you're amazing. Thank you so much for inspiring me today. And I'm excited to chat with you tomorrow with another topic in hand for you. 8 is not the time. 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to have some fun. So here's where you want to go. patflynn.com/theincomestream. Looking forward to seeing you there tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Pacific. And as always, Team Flynn for the win. Cheers, y'all.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Right. Yo, I have to thank you because now I'm super pumped for this workshop I'm about to do about SPI Pro, and you've given me the energy I need. Hopefully I've given you the energy you needed. We're 160 days into this, but we're sticking together. I appreciate you for that. I love you, appreciate you, I see you, I recognize you. You're awesome. Thanks so much. And as always, Team Flume for the win. Peace out, y'all.